What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another market update for Star Wars graded CGC comics. Is there at bottom for Star Wars comics right now? The prices are in free fall for the most part. There are a few that I'm going to cover that seem to have stabilized, that seem to be bucking the trend, so to speak, with the price drop across all comic books. And wow, it's just pretty amazing some of the deals that are out there right now. If you've got some money to spend, now is a great time to pick up some key comic books within the Star Wars universe. And as always, I want to say thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys get video access 24 hours early. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon, it's patreon.com/actionfiguregrader. Let's go ahead and dig in. I kind of went old to new, and as I usually do. And this is Star Wars number 21 in a 9.8 grade white pages. This is the first solo comic book story for Darth Vader, as you can see on the label there. First original Darth Vader story. And it's a great cover, Shadow of a Dark Lord. This is one I do have in my collection. And this one, despite everything that's going on in the market and in the world economy, this one has held up pretty well. This is a really great kind of secondary key within the vintage Marvel run. And you know, this one sold in an auction for $349.99 plus $15.95 shipping on 3 bids. This closed on October 8th. And this one's actually held up pretty well. It's not that far off from what I paid for this book back during a little bit better market environment. So I think that this is one that is kind of one of those buy and hold forever type books. It's just a fantastic cover with 3PO, R2-D2, Luke, Leia, and then Vader kind of overseeing them. Oh, I'll get you yet, you Star Warriors. And it's just kind of has a great kind of 1970s feel to it. This book is from March of 1979. Not a ton of them on the census either. So definitely a good one to look for if you're into kind of these vintage books in high grade. Great cover. Next up, we've got a little bit lower grade. This is a CGC 9.4 for Star Wars number 42. This is a newsstand edition, though, and this one sold in an auction, $350 on 1 bid plus $10 shipping. So this is obviously the first full appearance of Boba Fett in comics, the first cameo of Dengar and Bosk, as well as, I believe, the first full appearance of Yoda in comics. And as you can see, it's got that barcode in the lower left-hand corner instead of Spider-Man's face, so you know that it's the newsstand edition. Obviously, this is before CGC has started updating their labels to say newsstand edition across the top on the label. But this was a 9.4 grade, so a little bit lower grade, but still a very, nice book and very, very expensive. 350 bucks took that one home. So it's a good option for those of you who don't want to spend up for the 9.8 grade. I mean, that book is still very expensive, even despite the downturn in the comic book market. So 350 bucks for a 9.4 with white pages is not a terrible deal at all. Here was a 9.0 white pages for Star Wars number 68. This was also a newsstand edition, as you can see there. And this is the origin of Boba Fett. This is the first mention of the Mandalorian in comic books, the Mandalorian as a whole, as the race, as a world. And again, it was a 9.0 grade, so not super high grade, but this one sold in an auction on October 7th for $170 and change plus shipping on 38 bids. That's not a terrible price either, given that in a 9.8 grade, one just sold last month for, I believe it was $1,800 for a newsstand. That's really a pretty good price for a 9.0. Next up, I've got a few Dark Horse comics, and this is a great cover. This is one I don't have in my collection, but I really like it. And this has Darth Krayt, Darth Nihil, and Darth Talon on the cover. And I believe this is, let's see here, this is the first appearance of Cade Skywalker, Darth Krayt, and Darth Nihil in comic books. And it's just a great cover. Star Wars Legacy number 1. This is from 2006 by Dark Horse. One of those books that I think is, again, kind of a buy and hold forever. It was graded 9.8, and this sold in an auction for $224.50. That is way down from some of the price highs. This was kind of at $400, and then it kind of creeped down to $350. $224.50 is just a massive price drop, and that's going to be the kind of the recurring theme for a lot of these. Here's another one, Star Wars Legacy number 16. This is the origin of Darth Krayt. A great cover with Obi-Wan kind of on the sands, I believe, of Tatooine. Not positive on that, but just a fantastic cover, and again, kind of a timeless book. And that one sold for $104.27. I mean, it's kind of been all over the map. This book kind of spiked up because there was rumors that Darth Krayt was going to be kind of featured in either the Book of Boba Fett or in Obi-Wan. And none of that really happened. So, you know, it got down to like $70, and then it went up to like $300, and now it's back down to 104 and change. So I think with patience, you might even be able to get this under $100. And I think that there's definitely worse ways to spend your money on a 9.8 grade book. It's kind of a secondary key again, Origin of Darth Krayt, but lots of rumors that we might see him at some point in live action content. And then this is the book that came out 2 months later, Star Wars Legacy number 18. Again, a great cover with Darth Talon and Darth Nihil on the cover. And again, it's the Origin of Darth Krayt storyline continues. So this one sold for $41, $41 plus $3.50 shipping. You cannot beat that price. I mean, that is just a fantastic price for a pretty epic cover. And, you know, again, it's not the very beginning of Darth Krayt's origin storyline, but it's a book that's kind of a classic, and people know this book well from the Dark Horse run of comic books. Next up is one I've talked about in the past, and that's Clone Wars number 7. And it's not like a first appearance book or anything like that, or origin story, but this cover was done, this artwork was done by Dave Filoni. And I've kind of gone on record saying that I'd like to have this book in a 9.8 grade because, I don't know, I kind of view Dave Filoni as like the godfather of modern Star Wars. I mean, everything that's good about modern Star Wars live action content or cartoons has his touch on it. I mean, the Bad Batch, Clone Wars, the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, I assume. And, you know, this cover's great. It's just a fantastic cover. And the fact that he did this artwork, and to my knowledge, I mean, somebody can correct me if they have a little bit more comic book knowledge than I do, but I believe this is his only cover that he's done. I know he's done some artwork for trading cards and some other things like that, but to my knowledge, this is his only cover art. But if it's not, it's certainly his first cover art, and it's just an awesome cover. And this price, too, has held up pretty well. One sold in an auction 3 or 4 months ago that I was really tempted to put a bid in on, but I just didn't do it. And I believe that sold for around $180. This one just sold for $249.99 free shipping. So clearly this is, again, against the trend of comic book prices being way down. And I just think that, you know, again, it's not like a first appearance or some kind of major interior comic content that drives the price of this one. It's because it's Dave Filoni's cover art on there. And there's something to be said about having kind of the first art, or, you know, some of the early art for these main people within the Star Wars universe. Next up is one, of course, that I talk about all the time, and that's Darth Vader number 3. This is in a CGC 9.6 grade. And, of course, this is the first appearance of Dr. Aphra and her 2 droids, BT-1 and 000. In comics, this is the main cover A. One of you guys, I believe it was Justin M., you know, he mentioned that in a 9.8 grade, there's over 6,000 of these in a 9.8 grade on the CGC census. So this is very easy to find, at least for this cover. Some of the later printings, not so much. You know, the 3rd and 4th printing are very, very pricey. But this 9.6 grade sold for $157. This 9.8 grade for the same book sold for $244 US, or 220 Great British pounds plus shipping. So again, it's an easy book to find, but I've gone on record stating that Dr. Aphra is coming to live action content sooner rather than later. And, you know, again, is it going to do anything price-wise? Who knows? You know, if you look at what Andor books have done, or what Obi-Wan books have done, or even now what Boba Fett books are doing, the Mandalorian books, we're going to cover those in a little while. Everything's flatlined. It seems like the market doesn't really care whether they appear in live action content or not. It feels like the last big book to jump would be like the Grand Inquisitor's first appearance, which we'll also cover. Black Chrysanthemum, when he first showed up in the Book of Boba Fett as a surprise. Some of those books really spiked up, and they've since come back down. But whether because of, you know, economic conditions and because the comic book market as a whole is not healthy right now, maybe this book doesn't do anything when Dr. Aphra shows up. I tend to think it will. I tend to think that we're at very bottoms of this book, and that it will spike up at least a little bit. Here was another one that sold for $289 plus $16 shipping. So again, once you account for shipping, it seems like $300 to $325 max is what you want to pay for this book in a CGC 9.8 for the standard cover A first printing. The second printing can probably be had for $200 to $250. The 3rd and 4th printings, as well as the 1 in 25 La Rocca variant, be prepared to pay big money because they are very few on the census. and those command a massive premium. But if you just want something Dr. Aphra related, and some of you may not even follow her or know who she is or know much about her, but I'm telling you, she is one of the coolest characters in modern Star Wars memory for me, and I'm really, really excited about her prospects should and when Lucasfilm and Disney decide to actually present her in live action content, because I think her storylines are tailor-made for episodic content. I just think that she's such a cool character, kind of a gray area type of character where she's not exactly a goody two-shoes. She's not the most evil person in the world. She kind of falls right in the middle there with Han Solo, and it's kind of well within the gray area in terms of morals. And I just love her, and I think that she's got a bright future for Star Wars content. This was a shocker of a price. This was Star Wars Solo Adaptation #1, but this is the 1:50 ratio variant. So for every 50 of the standard cover A's, only one of these was printed. And this was a 9.8 grade, and this is a scene from the Solo movie where Solo and the Wookiee were kind of fighting at the pleasure and whim of the stormtroopers watching above. And, it's a great scene in the movie. One of the few scenes, really, that was an awesome scene. But the 1:50 ratio variant, this was listed for $210 plus shipping. I looked up the sales price. It was $195. That is what the standard cover A used to go for. And now you can get this 1:50 ratio variant for the same price. So it's pretty incredible how far this book has fallen. And clearly it's because Kira has not made her appearance in live action content like the rumors presented themselves to be. Emilia Clarke, she's since been signed to do some Marvel Cinematic Universe type stuff, superhero type stuff. So it seems like Kira is at least on hold for the foreseeable future in terms of live action content. Could she come back? Yes. I mean, Emilia Clarke's fairly young, but she has had some health issues here. So she may not be up to much more than just like a cameo appearance or a brief appearance in some MCU type content. But as a result, Solo Adaptation #1 has free fallen, and it's a really cheap buy right now, relatively speaking to some of the previous prices. I mean, this book was like $600 or $700 during the height of those rumors, so pretty incredible to see that price drop. Likewise, Rogue One Adaptation #1, the first appearance of Cassian Andor, Saw Gerrera, Jyn Erso, Director Krennic in comics, and this book has also free fallen. I mean, this book just sold in a 9.8 grade for $125 plus $12 shipping. I paid close, I think I paid $186 to $190 for my copy. So again, it's part of it is just people don't seem to care about, what's on the tube right now. Andor is a great show. I'm really enjoying it so far, although I have not seen episodes 4 and 5 yet. But 1 through 3 were excellent, very well produced, and it kind of gives a grittier, kind of darker interpretation to some of the Star Wars universe that is badly needed within live action content. But the market doesn't care in terms of the comics. This book has just done nothing but go down in price like the rest of the market. Likewise is Darth Maul #2. This was the second printing as well. This is the first appearance of Cad Bane in comics. Obviously, he quote-unquote died in the Book of Boba Fett in live-action content. This second printing during the height of Cad Bane's appearance in the Book of Boba Fett, this book hit almost $1,000. $1,000. This one sold in an auction for $157.50 for the second printing, which is much more rare than the first printing. I've got the first printing 9.8 grade, but the second printing for $157.50 is a massive, massive price drop from, I think it was a $950 somewhere in there at the very height of the market. So if you like Cad Bane and you're like me and you don't think he's dead, I think he's coming back. I mean, his scenes were just they were honestly some of the best scenes for the Book of Boba Fett. Most of the Book of Boba Fett, you can probably set it on fire in a dumpster as far as I'm concerned. But the Cad Bane scenes were incredible. And I really think he's not dead. I think he's coming back. So if you believe it like I do, now's a great time to buy this book, whether it's the first printing or the second printing. I mean, if the second print goes for $157.50, I would think that you can get the first print for close to $100 right now, which is an absolute bargain. So anyway, just another data point for a book that is free fallen. Likewise, the Grand Inquisitor's first appearance in comics from 2017 is Darth Vader #6. It's got an epic cover. No one liked his interpretation within the live-action Obi-Wan series, but look at this cover. Again, I think at current prices, this is a buy and hold forever type book. I picked up mine for, I believe, about $140 or $160 somewhere in there, and then it shot up to like $600. This one just sold for $130. So it's just these wild rides in the comic book market. You got to buckle up. You got to prepare for lots of price swings because the market just doesn't know what to do right now. This one sold for $200 plus $17 shipping. I think somewhere in the middle. $130 is an absolute bargain. $200 is probably too much, but if you can get it for $150 or less, somewhere in the middle there, I think you're doing pretty well. It's just, again, one of those, I mean, look at this cover. The glow from the Inquisitorious lightsaber showing the Grand Inquisitor, and it's over top of Darth Vader's helmet cut in half. I mean, what an awesome artistic cover. Very black cover. I just think this is kind of one of those books that at current prices, just buy and hold on to it and hope that the Grand Inquisitor and the Inquisitorious as a whole get a little bit better interpretation. A book that is bucked the trend in terms of prices is this one. This is War of the Bounty Hunters, Jabba the Hutt #1. This is the ratio variant. I believe it's a 1:10 or 1:25 ratio variant. This has Diva Lompop's first appearance. She's a bounty hunter. And this book is holding its price. And it makes you think that the market knows something about Diva Lompop that the rest of us don't know. Because you would think that this book would drop like a rock. But it dropped down to like 80 or $100, but now it's creeping back up again. This one sold for $150 plus $15 shipping. Again, this is the ratio variant. It's a great cover. I apparently have one coming. We will see if it actually happens or not. That I pre-ordered, that it still has not arrived yet, even though I ordered it over 14 months ago. So that's a lesson learned about never pre-ordering CGC 9.8 grade comics, because you never know if you're actually going to get it or not. But this one sold for $150, so it seems like it's creeping back up in price, and it does make you wonder whether the market knows something that we don't know, and that she's going to be coming to live action content. Now let's dig into the Mandalorian comics, and as I predicted about maybe 3 months ago, I said that wait for Mandalorian #1. There's going to be a ton of them on eBay for sale. And look at these prices. This is the standard cover A. This sold for $51 plus $11 shipping. So $62 shipped for the Mandalorian #1, which is obviously the Mandalorian's first interior comic book cover appearance, the first cameo appearance of Grogu. And they have flatlined. I mean, there's so much supply right now and not enough buyers. And here is the photo variant. This one sold for $31 in an auction plus $11 shipping. So if you were more patient than I was, I picked up the 1:10 and the 1:25, but I probably did it about a month too early. But these books are really flatlined, and you can get a great deal on them. Here's another example. This is the 1:10 concept art variant. I think I paid $75. I was just impatient, and if I had just waited a little bit longer, I could have picked it up for $36 plus $11 shipping. So again, this is the 1:10 ratio variant. For every 10 of the cover A that we just showed you, only one of these was printed. So clearly the market just does not care about issue #1. Now, as I also said, Mandalorian #2 is going to be the better long-term investment, and so far that is held to be true. Here's the Mandalorian #2, the 1:50 ratio variant. This one sold in an auction on October 8th for $330. So as of right now, at least, the Mandalorian #2 has been proven to be the better investment. That book has shot up like a rock and is definitely going against the trend. Now, will it hold up long-term? Let's check back in 2 months and see what happens. I'm not buying it at $330. I can tell you that. Now, if it gets down into the 150 to 175 range, maybe I'd consider it. But I'm not paying $330 right now. That's too much money for a modern comic that was just released here September, October timeframe. So, but at least right now, I've been proven right that the Mandalorian #2 has better long-term prospects. So we'll see if that holds up as we dig into what is going to be a very, very bumpy ride this fall and into the winter for the Star Wars comic book market. That's all I really had for this video. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll be back soon.